Guys, welcome to Box, the football talk show brought to you by Sportology TV. I'm Mooney. That's my co-host, Ali Drew. Just a quick recap in regards to yesterday. We had footballing royalty on. We had a Premier League winner, former Manchester United player, and won the Premier League with Leicester City in Danny Simpson. He spoke about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Paul Pogba, Ravel Morrison, and the mystery behind him. Leicester City's title charge possibly, and a lot more, and Wazza as well, Wayne Rooney retiring. So definitely check that out. That's uploaded, so give that a check out. But today, Ali, we've got another big guest.
Yes, we do. Joining us today, we have a presenter on BBC One Extra and on 5 Live Sport. He's also, you'll see him on MTV UK. He's also a digital host for Arsenal. He's basically everywhere at the moment. We are delighted to be joined by Nick Bright. Nick, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. It's difficult to follow, Danny Simpson, Premier League winner and that, but I'll take it, I'll try.
You are everywhere at the moment. I'm seeing your face all over the place. How is work going? Obviously, we're in a lockdown, but you seem to be sort of carrying on quite well.
Yeah, luckily it's been interesting because obviously we've been in 3 lockdowns, since this all started. And the first one, when football completely stopped, that was the most scary one for me because, so much of my work is football and it all kind of just went away. But my Radio 1 Extra show, that carried on and it was nice to get out of the house because, again, that first lockdown, I don't want to keep, taking you back there because it was quite a depressing time for everybody. But that first one, it was like everybody was locked up. You couldn't go anywhere. And once a week, I actually got to go into central London, which was a weird scenario. Let me tell you that. Like when I tell you, it was like 28 days later in central London. It literally was. There was no one around. So it was bizarre. But yeah, luckily, to answer your question, the work's kind of bounced back. Football's back. I'm very busy now and I'm super grateful for that because obviously I know there's lots of people out there that are in tough situations.
Are you working from home and doing a bit of both at the moment? Is that the case?
Yeah. Exactly that. So it's like some stuff I do, I have to still go to places and blah, blah, blah. And then other stuff is strictly from home. A couple of months back, I had to go to the Brighton training ground to interview Tariq Lamptey, which was quite nice because, getting to go to a training ground again and seeing other people and being able to interact with other humans, albeit socially distanced, was quite nice. And he was a great guy as well, just to speak to. And they've got quite a nice training facility down there, Brighton, as well. I'm quite nosy, even though this is work, I like going to all the different training grounds and seeing who's got, nice stuff. I'd probably say out of all the training grounds I've been to, I'd probably say Spurs, which pains me to say. Spurs is probably the best one I've been to.
Did you check out the changing rooms and all the different stuff they've got going on?
It's funny because they let you go, depending on what training ground you go to, the rules are slightly different. And obviously in COVID times, it was like when I went to the Brighton one, it was super strict. You could only go to where we were going to do the interview and that was it. But when I went to the Spurs one, it was obviously pre-pandemic times and we interviewed Son and Harry Winks, which was cool. And they've got like a pitch and putt at the Spurs training ground where they can just do a little bit of golf, if they fancy it. They've got a hotel on site because I think, I'm not certain about this, but I think nowadays all the players, even when they're playing at home, they go to that hotel the night before and then they all travel together to the ground. So yeah, it's changed a lot. When I speak through my work for Arsenal, I get to speak to quite a lot of the players that played for Arsenal in a very different time. And they're all pampered now. I tell you, they're all babies because when they were playing, it was like, you'd stayed at home. You might have had a pizza and a pint or a few pints the night before, and then you'd go out and play. It's very different.
Let's talk about your beloved Arsenal. Yesterday, they beat Newcastle 3-0.
Yeah.
Aubameyang scoring 2, which I think he needed. But just talk to me before we talk about that one game in general. I want to talk about Arsenal's season. It's just been back and forth for you guys. It's been a bit of a topsy-turvy season. You're doing, the season was going well. You beat Manchester United. It seems like, okay, Arsenal's going to be on the rise. And then all of a sudden it sort of dipped quite massively. And now you're on this resurgence of form where we're seeing a bit more of that Chelsea win was a massive win for Arsenal. Just talk to me about being an Arsenal fan, and seeing what you've seen this season from your team?
It's quite frustrating, to be honest, just because, like you said, we started the season okay. You know, I don't think anybody was expecting us to be title challengers. Let me just get that out there right now. I mean, there probably are some extreme Arsenal fans on Twitter who are expecting it, but you know, the realists, we know where we're at. You know, we're good enough, in my opinion. We're good enough and should be pushing for a Champions League spot. But because of what's happened this season, I don't know how it's going to pan out. But having said that, you know, even though I think we're 10th at the minute. Villa have got like 1 million games in hand though, but we're 10th. And just on that, like, you know, 2 wins puts us back into the Champions League places, obviously depending on other results. So it is a bit of a mad season at the moment. But Arsenal, to focus on them in isolation, it's been so frustrating because even the Palace game the other night, it kind of, you know, it showed glimpses to why we were so poor a few, you know, games back, because we just didn't create any opportunities in that Crystal Palace game. And that's basically what it was like watching Arsenal for, what was it, a month and a half, 2 months. And, you know, when you do the match day show, the breakdown live, which is what I do, it's like, normally when you're losing or it's a terrible game or whatever, you'd switch the telly off, wouldn't you? You'd go, I've had enough of this, bang, like I'm out of here, go and do something else, watch Netflix. But you can't do that when you're working. So you have to sit there and suffer. So yeah, it's been a bit painful, to answer your question. It could be worse. You know, I don't want anybody to think, you know, I'm overreacting here, because there are obviously clubs in worse positions, but it's just been annoying and painful to watch.
Yeah, because you said there, obviously, the great game last night, great win against Newcastle. They are back up to 10th. And just talk to me about that game last night and how important that was. It was a great performance.
Yeah, I think a lot of Gooners are just happy to see a good performance as well as a win. You know, it's always important to get a win, you know, because you only get the 3 points at the end of the day, whether it's 10-0 or 1-0. But, you know, just to continue that momentum, because I was a little bit worried after Crystal Palace that we might be regressing back into some of the traits which saw that barren spell. But against Newcastle, especially in the second half, maybe Mikel Arteta said something to the team at half time, because the first half was a little bit like, again, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. You know what I mean? And then in the second half, we really turned the screw. We came out and we did the business. And it was nice to see Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scoring again. Because, you know, ever since he signed the new deal, there's been a lot of people saying, oh, he's not the same player and blah, blah, blah. But it's all about the supply. He hasn't been getting the supply. He hasn't been getting the chances. And if you give him, you know, gilt-edged chances, he's still, in my opinion, you know, one of the best strikers in Europe. So, you know, we're lucky to have him at the club. So, yeah, all in all, good day at the office yesterday. And I'm pleased to see us. I mean, it sounds mad, but I'm pleased to see us in 10th, which means when they show the table, you know, we're actually in the top half for the time being.
A player that I wanted to talk to you about was Thomas Partey. I'm a Man United fan. When you guys played us earlier on, he ran the show in midfield. He was fantastic that night. And yesterday, you know, first off, he was good. He was dictating the midfield. I know he got taken off midway through the second half, but I think he had done his job, and he's just coming back from injury as well. But talk to me about how influential of a player he's going to be for your side going forward.
Absolutely massive. You know, when we made that signing, I was jumping for joy, because you know, there was rumours about it for so long, and it was one of those. It was a bit of a saga, wasn't it? You know how some signings are just done like that, and then others just go on and on and on. The Thomas Partey one, his name was just being, you know, rattled around, and I was looking at it like, you know, I can't imagine why would he leave a Champions League club to come to us at the minute? We're in the Europa, and we're looking a bit, you know, ropey, to be honest with you. But, you know, we got the deal done, and I'm very, very happy that we did it. Also, because my granddad's Ghanaian, so like, I'm super happy about that as well. So got a Ghanaian playing for Arsenal. But yeah, even last night, he showed his quality in you know, a few flashpoints. The assist to Aubameyang was really, really nice. The way he picked the ball up, Lacazette just knocked it into him, and then he kind of took one Newcastle player out the game with ease, and then like that first time pass straight out to Aubameyang and then a goal. You know, he's got that in him. And the weird thing is, when he signed, his main job for Atleti, and also I believe the main reason he's been signed for Arsenal, is to kind of be the deeper lying man who breaks up the play. But he can, you know, set an attack away. He has got a great forward pass on him. He can split the lines, and We've seen him do it a couple of times now, and I think that he's definitely a mainstay in our midfield. And you can see, and this is no disrespect to any of the other midfielders that Arsenal have got, but in my opinion, we're all football fans and we watch a lot of football. That's not me saying I'm an expert, but I can tell when a player is, a cut above what's around him, and Thomas Partey is definitely that. It's only half the job though. Now, Edu and Arteta need to go out and get us an attacking midfielder, even though Smith Rowe's been absolutely excellent. But, we still need an established attacking midfielder, in my opinion.
Talking about Arteta then, a lot of sort of eyes have been on him this season because of the form. When you guys beat Man United, I can remember Sky Sports, they were saying, he's such a great man. This, that, and other. It's crazy how football changes after 2 weeks. Same thing was Solskjaer. Solskjaer they were talking about getting him sacked after United lost in the Champions League, and then 3 weeks later, he's on top of the league, and everyone's like, okay, he's safe. With Arteta though, what do you, as somebody who's watched Arteta since he's been at the helm for the last season and a bit, what do you make of him as a manager? Do you feel like he's got the attributes to take you back to the top four and beyond?
It's really hard to tell, whether he's going to be somebody who can emulate Pep Guardiola, who's obviously his mentor and good friend. But what I can say is, for me, because there's a split already, and this is the thing about football. You touched on it there. It's so polarizing. Even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who's now top of the league with Manchester United, like you say, only I can remember maybe 3-4 games back, people were still calling for his head. So it's totally mad the way football is now. But Arteta, for me, when he's in the press conferences and when he's talking to people and, the way he is on the touchline, he says and does the right stuff. So for me, I want him to be successful for that reason. He's passionate. He's come in and he's so different to Unai Emery, who's there before him, so different to Arsene Wenger, who was obviously, legacy manager there before him. I just think that on a base level and a human level, I like what Arteta has brought to the club. I also like the fact that there's a bit of no nonsense about him, to be honest. He was friends. Well, I don't know about friends. That might be a strong term, but he, played with Mesut Ozil at Arsenal. That was his teammate. And he's come in and he's just said, I don't fancy her. Well, that's what we've been told. I even though I work for Arsenal, I've got zero info on that, believe me. But, what we're being told is, he just didn't fancy him. And that was that. And to do that to the club's highest earner, it's a massive thing, and we've seen him make big calls with in the FA Cup final, for example. He started Ainsley Maitland-Niles when people weren't expecting that. And Ainsley had a really, really good game. So he's not afraid to drop the big players and make the big calls. And I actually like that, because I think you should be in the team on merit. You shouldn't be in the team just because your name and how long you've been at the club.
You did mention just then Mesut Ozil. Obviously, he's now gone from Arsenal. We've seen photos of him on the plane. He's now gone. What do you make of that whole situation? Obviously, you say you don't really know the ins and outs of it. It was a strange situation, and it wasn't really the end that I guess a lot of Arsenal fans wanted to see.
Yeah, it's a real shame, because when he came to Arsenal, let's not forget he has given us a lot of good times as well. I feel like that's been forgotten over the last little bit, because it's gone the way that it's gone. It's a little bit similar to Arsene Wenger in that people started forgetting the amazing things that Wenger had done and achieved for Arsenal, because at the end it started getting so toxic. So it's like that, but part two. But it's funny you say, we've seen all the pictures. I feel like this is the maybe it's because Mesut Ozil's social team are so on it, but it feels like this is the first transfer where we've seen an Instagram story every step of the way. It's like, it's funny, but it's a shame for me, because he was and is still a fantastic player, and I think you're going to see that at Fenerbahce. He's somebody who can change the game with just one pass, and we're going to get, for a little while, in my opinion, we're going to get the look what you've lost, blah, blah, blah stuff. And, I fully expect that, because I think he'll be good at Fenerbahce. And also the Turkish Super League is a lot slower than the Premier League. So it will suit his pace. And he's I'm going to say he's aging now, but he's younger than me, which is hilarious. But, he's getting old for a footballer. But, it's just a shame that we never really got to see him go out on a high. it's a different situation to Santi Cazorla, because Santi Cazorla left because he was injured and blah blah blah. But again, we never got to say goodbye to Santi Cazorla, and it's happened again. You know, we haven't got to say a proper goodbye to Mesut Ozil, although, you know, I don't know whether half the fan base would have wanted to anyway because of the way that it's panned out. But yeah, it's just a shame.
Well, you spoke about an outgoing there, but when you look at your team and you look at the youngsters that have come through, how exciting is that for yourself? Just to name a few, Bukayo Saka, Emile Smith Rowe, he's doing great.
Killing it.
A couple of games been fantastic. Gabriel Martinelli, he's been a sensation since he's come. Obviously, we know he's had quite a few injuries, but them three in particular, how exciting is it as an Arsenal fan knowing that maybe in maybe 18 months, 2 years, you're going to see the best of these guys in a fully functional Arteta team, possibly?
Yeah, Smith Rowe and Saka, for me, they're undroppable now, and it's mad because, you know, we've been doing the breakdown for a while, and when we were in the Europa campaign, in the group stages, Smith Rowe wasn't really getting a look in. He was coming back from injury, to be fair, but he wasn't getting a look in. And then when he was fit, he was on the bench. We were like, God, we just want to see this kid play because there's so many people that are really excited about him. And now look, you know, he's on, and the link up that he's got with Bukayo Saka especially is unbelievable. You know, you can tell that they've been in youth teams all the way through. And someone made a good point, actually. I think it might have been on the Arsecast, which is a podcast I listen to quite a lot, which is about Arsenal, I should point out, and not anything else. Yeah. But like they were saying on there that do they think that there's like an imprint of Arsene Wenger in the likes of Bukayo Saka and Smith Rowe? Because don't forget that Arsene Wenger was controlling so much of the club. You know, Arsene Wenger would have had his eye on the academy. He would have had coaches in the academy coaching the kids a certain way. And now we're seeing Saka and Smith Rowe come through the team, playing that kind of, I hate using this phrase because it's a real social media kind of thing, but that Wenger ball style of football, you know, we're really seeing it. And, you know, it does make me think, yeah, maybe that's a good point. But to answer your question, yeah, Hale End, the academy is only down the road from where I live here, actually. So sometimes I see the kids at the top of my road waiting for the bus, the 158 at the top of my road, and that goes straight down to Hale End, and they're in the full tracksuits and that. And I think to myself, you know, one day I might be in a terraces supporting you, whoever you are. But you know, yeah, Martinelli, you know, he hasn't come through Hale End, but also an honourable mention to him because he's unbelievable. The tenacity. I don't think I'm blowing him up too much when I say he reminds me of you know, a cross between Luis Suarez and Alexis Sanchez, just because how tenacious he is, and, you know, how hungry he is. It can be the 94th minute and he's still running like it's minute number 1. I love it.
Go on, Ali.
Well, just obviously you're talking about, you know, that Arsenal have had an up and down, bit of a crazy season, but it's been a bit of a crazy season for everyone. You know, there's been no fans, and everyone's had good points, bad points. But I'm just wondering, sort of, what, on your opinion, on who you think is going to be the sort of top 4 by the end of the season. Do you have a prediction?
Well, for me, I'm sorry to say this, but definitely City or Liverpool are going to win the league. That's just what I think. You know, Manchester United have done amazingly, but I don't think they've got the staying power to stay up there. But I think they'll get Champions League. So that's 3 of the top 4 sorted. And then I guess it's a toss-up between Leicester, Spurs, unfortunately. Depending on what happens with us, you know, like, I don't want to rule us out. This isn't me being like, you know, massively over the top. And I think if you ask most football fans, if you look at our squad and, you know, all the rest of it, we should be pushing up there for that top 4 spot. So, you know, obviously we still need to put a run together because we're down in 10th. But, you know, if we can put another run together, then there's no reason why I don't think we could be pushing for top 4. I think we'll definitely get Europa again, even though, you know, I don't really want it, if I'm honest. But, you know, we'll take it because it only gets exciting once it gets to the knockout stage. You know, all the group stages and that, and you're going to all these random teams that you've never heard of. They sound made up. Then, you know, it's a bit annoying. But yeah, so I guess. If you had to really ask me to nail one down for that top 4 spot, I'm gonna say Leicester, just because I don't want to say Spurs.
I like that. Nick, we're in January. The transfer window is open for another, I think it might be 11 days.
Yeah.
So say you've got this checkbook and you can sign, certain players. Obviously, realistically, what positions would you like sort of Arteta to sign?
Well, for me, we definitely need a centre attacking midfielder. That's the number one priority. I know Smith Rowe, like I just waxed lyrical about him and that, but he's young still. Let's not forget that, and we can't be too reliant on young players. We've seen it so often in the past. Jack Wilshere came through and he was the saviour, and then good for Jack because he's just signed a deal with Bournemouth in the last couple of days, which is nice. But and all Arsenal fans want to see Jack do well, but we've just put too much on him. And we've done that numerous occasions in the past. Alex Iwobi at one point was the kid that we were pinning everything on. So I don't want to put too much on Smith Rowe. So if we could go out and get Houssam Aouar, that would be absolutely amazing. But I don't know whether it's a reality or not. It seems like we may have missed the opportunity because in the summer it was like Paris Saint-Germain were out of the equation for him. All these Champions League clubs couldn't get him, and it felt like we needed to do it then. So, maybe it still might happen. Who knows? But he would be my number one target in that position. I still like Wilfried Zaha, even though we don't need a winger. He's rumoured to be a gooner as well, which I love. So, and I know it sounds like a cliche, but he really does know the league, and we've seen. This is no criticism with Nicola Pepe, but it was one or the other, wasn't it? And I think we went for Pepe because the way the deal was structured, even though it was far too much money, in my opinion. The fact that we could pay it in instalments meant that we could get him, whereas Crystal Palace was saying, "No, you need to pay us the whole lot up front," and that stopped us from getting Zaha. But I think he'd be amazing. And then I think we need a left back, even though Kieran Tierney obviously is the man. Let me just say that right now. Without him, our team looks so different. Because we've loaned Kolasinac, but that's probably going to turn into a permanent deal, isn't it? I can't imagine he's going to come back, especially now his best mate's gone in Mesut Ozil. But because who's he going to protect now? Who's he going to come back and protect now at the club? But yeah, I think he'll go permanently, and then we need a backup left back because the other night when we tried to play Ainsley Maitland-Niles there, Ainsley's better on the right than on the left. So yeah, we need to look into that.
Actually, just talking about Zaha, and we know he plays on the left, cutting in. Signing somebody like that would put Aubameyang back into a position that he probably prefers, which is central striker. But what have you made of sort of Arteta pushing him out to the left and pushing Lacazette? Because your best player is Aubameyang, for the last couple of years, but you're playing him in a position where it looks like he's not 100% comfortable with. He has played it before, but he's at that age now where he's scoring goals. So why would you ruin that by putting him into a different position?
Well, let's not forget he's been a Golden Boot winner from out on the left. I know he shared it, but he still won the Golden Boot from out on the left. And then we put him centrally when we were in the middle of that terrible run, and he wasn't getting any opportunities. And for me, it comes down to supply rather than anything else. We just couldn't get him the opportunities. There were certain games where he was anonymous. Personally, I would love to see him smashing it through the middle, but I think the balance of the team works better when we've got Lacazette there, because we need somebody who can hold it up, and that's not Oba's job. Oba is very much playing in behind, a hybrid between Theo Walcott and Thierry Henry. That's not me saying he's as good as Thierry Henry before anybody jumps on me and tries to come at me. But he's that kind of player. He needs to be put in and then he does a job. We saw it yesterday with Thomas Partey, the ball over, and then he was running at one player, got round him and then scored. But if we need somebody to do the dirty work, for me, that's Lacazette. Back to the goal, played into feet, holds it up, then plays in Aubameyang on one side or Saka on the other side. The tough thing is, for me, the way that we're playing at the moment, or the formation that we have at the moment, the personnel that's available, Martinelli doesn't get into the team. And I feel like that is a bit of an issue because, he is young, he is the future. And it's only a matter of time, in my opinion, before the big boys start circling, the Barcelonas and the Real Madrids of the world. And you can only do so much to keep them at bay.
Before Ali asks you the last question, Ali, sorry. We asked you the top 4. So I want to ask you, who do you think is going to get relegated this year?
Right. Well, I think it's going to be Sheffield United. I don't think, they might have won the other night, but I just don't think they got what it takes. Rhian Brewster's come in there, and everybody was thinking, Rhian Brewster. When Rhian Brewster was at Liverpool, everyone was like, this kid's going to be amazing, blah blah blah. But it's different when you're playing with top players and they're just slotting you in every time, and all you got to do is tuck it away. It's easy, you know what I mean? But then when you go to Sheffield United, it's different. I don't think they've got enough firepower to stay up. I think West Brom are going to go as well. I don't think Allardyce will be able to save them. I know he's like, the relegation saviour and all of that, but I think this is a job too big. The way that they played against us, and we spanked them 4-0. That's, we haven't really been setting the world alight in front of goal either. And I think it's fair to say that if they got spanked 4-0 by us, they're going to get spanked by a lot of people this year. Even though they beat Wolves, didn't they, the other day? Wolves are having a tricky season, but I still think they'll go. And then the other team's Fulham. I like Fulham, West London club. Craven Cottage, it's nice. New stand being built there and that. But I just don't think they are good enough to stay in the Premier League. So, yeah, Sheffield United, West Brom and Fulham for the drop for me.
Interesting. Well, before we finish, I just want to ask who you think, obviously you've been to, as you say, different training grounds, you've been to matches to watch it live. Who do you think that the best player you've ever watched play live?
Oh, that is such a good question, because I've seen, is this Premier League or just full stop?
Just in general.
Anything.
Well, it has to be, because I was gonna go down the route of Dennis Bergkamp, because for me he's the best player I've ever seen put on an Arsenal shirt. But I was at the game where we beat Barcelona 2-1, so you can't overlook Lionel Messi, can you? It's impossible. It'd be ridiculous for me to say anybody else. So yeah, Lionel Messi, even though they lost the game, he's just sensational, an absolutely unbelievable talent. And it'd be a long time, in my opinion, before we see somebody again who's as good as Lionel Messi.
You got a red card, didn't you, the first time?
Which is
couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, that's so not him, like, that's mad, really.
Couldn't believe it.
It's all good. All right, Nick, thank you so much. Appreciate your time talking about your beloved Arsenal. At some point in the future, we'd like to grab hold of you again. Hopefully Arsenal will be further up the league. They won't be sat in 10th. So, yeah, it'd be great.
All right, mate. All right. Yeah, look, we know United are top of the league and all that. Yeah, you're doing all right. But...
We're a neutral channel.
Yeah, sure. He's sitting there with Cantona behind him. Neutral channel, not a chance. I've just got Stormzy, the Notorious B.I.G. and Kendrick Lamar behind me.
I like that.
But your team wins. If they ever go into a fight, your team would win. So it's fine. Then again, I've got Cantona, so I don't know about that.
Cantona, he's got the kung fu kicks, mate.
Nick, yeah, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you so much.
Nice one, guys.
Speak to you soon.
Cheers. Guys, that was Nick Bright talking about his beloved Arsenal. We also in Part 1 spoke to Danny Simpson, so make sure you check that video out. But also, guys, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, share whatever videos we have out there. We are trying to get more guests, more high-quality guests to talk about football, talk about your beloved teams. And yeah, comment below on what you'd like to see from us in the future. We were trying to think of, we've got a few new shows in, possibly coming forward, but we'd like your input. So definitely leave a comment below. Let us know what you'd like to see and stay tuned. We've got a lot coming forward. Take care.